I'm Rena, and welcome to a whole new episode on Health in the Spotlight. Childhood, as we've all been through before, is a vulnerable stage in our lives. Some grew up at the mercies of relatives, guardians, or even selfish parents. The hardships and sometimes trauma that people experience during childhood usually scars them for life. And sometimes, no matter how hard they try as adults, those terrible experiences, like shadows, never goes away. Today on Health in the Spotlight, I have with me an amazing lady who is here to enlighten us on child abuse and childhood trauma. She's a natural healer, a doula, mother, and currently working on a project in Ghana that helps with childhood trauma. I like her so much. She's actually my personal friend. She's Miss Zuri Saber, and welcome to Health in the Spotlight.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Trust me, I can feel the energy already.
Yes.
And I know my viewers will be excited.
Oh, yes. It's a
Let's-
huge topic.
Very huge and actually very personal to me as well.
Yes.
Now, when we say child abuse and childhood trauma, is there a difference?
They're analogous.
Okay.
So childhood trauma is caused by child abuse.
Okay.
And there are different kinds of abuse.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them are sustained over a long period of time. Some of them are one-time event. We can be traumatized by the death of a parent.
Yeah.
Or we can be traumatized by, emotional neglect. We can be traumatized by physical neglect, lack of food,
Mm-hmm.
things like this, and they affect us differently. So no matter the trauma or the link, often we walk away with something called PTSD or
Mhm.
post-traumatic stress disorder,
Yeah.
which is a low-level stress that we carry with us all through childhood, through adolescence, and into adulthood.
Yeah.
So a lot of times we downplay a one-time event. Oh, it just happened once.
Yeah.
But
And
it
we-
still changes you.
Yeah.
So
And we we have this
Yeah.
mindset that I don't know if it's a notion or it's a perception or whatever I want to call it, but people tend to assume that children don't have emotions or children it's like
Oh.
whatever we take them through during childhood, they don't really feel it or they don't tend to remember or whatever. But I think
Yeah.
it's wrong.
It's very wrong. Children are the essence. They're the
Mhm.
closest to source, right? They come out with so much wisdom and so much freedom and vibrancy. Our job is to create a space for them to be themselves, to be vibrant. So with every neglect or every time you don't see that child, you tell them that it's not okay for them to be their authentic self.
Yeah.
So they hide. And by the time they're adults, they have all of these layers of
Yeah.
false posturing or acting when their original self was how they were supposed to be here, how they
Yeah.
were created to be, and the
Yeah.
gifts that they were supposed to bring to the world. We beat them out of them,
Thank you.
We create automatons,
yeah.
right?
And we end up sometimes we even kind of like tease them,
Hey,
forgetting that they pick on those things.
Yeah.
And we just subdue it and
Yeah.
they end up not being themselves.
it's true. Actually, we create a script.
Mhm.
I like to say that adults run on a script.
Mhm.
What you call yourself as a child, stupid, lazy, maybe your parents called you nothing, right? You're good for nothing. We hold on to those things.
Yeah.
And from age 1, from birth to 7, we're programmed. So that program we run from into adulthood unless you go back into this script and change it. So from 1 all the way to 89.
When you say we're programmed, what
Yes.
exactly do you mean?
The way we're raised
Mhm.
in the first 7 years
Mm-hmm.
dictates our attitude toward ourselves and toward life for the rest of our life,
Wow.
unless you actively change it, which most people don't. So the way your parents speak to you
Yeah.
becomes what the child believes they are. So if you call your
Yeah.
child lazy or
Stupid.
good for nothing, stupid, they might play it off like they didn't hear it, but deep down that is their script for
Yeah.
themselves, right? So you have to
Yeah.
be very careful the words you say to your children because it becomes what they say to themselves
Yeah.
about themselves.
And they are looking up to you as a parent or the guardian or
Yeah.
whoever that you're raising this child.
Yes.
So we really have to be careful.
Very careful.
You-
And because it's a script, it's easy for us to do what our parents did to us, right? It takes a very conscious parent
Mhm.
to say, I'm not going to do what my parents said to me, right?
Yeah.
So when I say script, I mean it's almost autopilot. Have you ever had a moment where you're like, oh, I sound just like my mother, right? Very often.
Yeah.
Especially with your children,
Yeah.
because you don't have a framework outside of your parents
Yeah.
on how to deal with disobedience.
Yeah.
So unless you're very conscious about allowing that child to be themselves, often you try to make them into who you were, and your parents try to make you into who they were.
I know, it's like a pattern.
It's a pattern that we have to break.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier that we have types of abuse or some forms of abuse. Can we just talk a little bit about that? Yeah.
Yes, there are a few, for example, medical trauma. Some children have extreme medical illness, and they're traumatized by the process of hospitalization, of surgeries, healing, things like that. You have emotional neglect, which is where your body needs might be taken care of, but your emotional needs weren't taken care of. Your mother never held you. She didn't play. She didn't teach you how to play with makeup or right. So your body might be taken care of. So, oh, you had a good childhood. You wore good clothes. You had the best toys, but nobody ever sat down and really saw you and really engaged with you and validated you. So that's very traumatic, and it's sustained over time.
Yeah.
So it creates a personality, right, type.
Wow.
Yeah. So
and I think, not to cut you, but I think that emotional neglect is what we usually neglect ourselves.
Yes.
We tend to forget that our kids need us emotionally. At least just saying that I love you. It's something that is not even common in our culture.
Yeah.
To tell your child that I love you. I think right now, like with exposure and all sorts of social media, people are changing. But it used not to be things that like parents used to say to their kids.
Yeah.
Do you get it?
And I do. And I do notice also with emotional neglect, there's almost like it's a cultural emphasis on money and power and external things.
Okay.
Right. And those things draw the attention away from play, from emotional intelligence, from honest engaging and presence in the moment, right? We're always planning for the future, striving for something we don't have already.
Presence in the moment.
Right.
Very
and so
important.
We're like, my child in the future, I want him to be a doctor. But right now, he wants you to tell him about
He just
playing.
want to be a child.
He just want to be a child, right? He wants to make a mess. He wants to throw a fit and
play with
still
you.
be hugged, you know? So those things, to not get those things during those 4-7 years, they cause trauma. It causes trauma automatically. So that's a baseline trauma most of us have.
That's a baseline trauma.
And then you add physical abuse, sexual abuse, medical, trauma, and these things. Or even you can be traumatized by not even your own family, but the society.
The society,
so bullies,
the environment.
If you have a mean teacher that calls you stupid at school, but then your mom comes and says you're amazing, but then you go back to an abusive school environment. All of these things shape you as a child. So
and I think parents has to watch. Parents need to watch these things, because sometimes I've noticed that, because when kids go to school, when you have like 20 kids per teacher and all that, and they forget they forget that every kid has their individual or their unique. They are unique in a different way.
Yes.
And they try to make comparisons. John is brilliant than you. You are playful in class. And their words in school towards the kids, sometimes it's just not nice.
It's not nice, and our systems have to change. Right?
It has to.
Like everybody has their own genius. Someone who's good at math might not have the same genius as somebody who is artistic and can paint, the Celestine Chapel or whatever that's called, Sistine Chapel. Right, those are different kinds of geniuses.
Yeah.
And we have to have a system that empowers the different kinds, not tries to squeeze everyone into one.
Yeah.
And so I admire some of the Scandinavian and Japanese cultures, because they have a free environment where children can choose what they're drawn to.
Yeah.
And then they nurture that. Yeah. Right? They empower that.
Right from
and
childhood.
They see that. It's all about being seen. We crave being seen. Right? And this culture is about hiding and posturing and
I know it. I give birth to you, so what I say is final.
Exactly. As opposed
That's what
to
we do.
A give and take, a respect of each other.
Yeah.
That's what the children crave, especially now.
I want us to talk about the physical abuse.
Yes.
We know that we have to train our kids. Children will be naughty. They will always be kids. But in this case where we don't have to physically abuse them, how do we end up nurturing our kids or our children so that they feel the love and then also know that we are still disciplining them?
Right, you're still
exactly,
the adults, right?
Exactly.
For me, I just came across a meme recently, or it was a short video. There's a mom, I think she's Japanese, but I'm not sure. Actually, I think she's Chinese. But she has a young son, he's 7. and she would send him to the timeout. She didn't even hit him. She sent him to timeout, right? So that's even gentle, more gentle. But she said she didn't want timeout to be a punishment, right? She created, I think she went viral. She created a timeout corner, but it was a cool down corner. So it had a chart where the child could point to the emotions that they were feeling, right? So I'm angry, I'm frustrated, I'm sad, I'm annoyed, right? It had comfortable chairs and teddy bears and stuff. She said she didn't want timeout to be the punishment. She wanted him to have a chance to recollect himself. And the punishment was reduced screen time with TV. It was taking away toys that he liked, special toys. It was, missing out on opportunities, right? So we can recognize that our children are intelligent, right? And that they can rationalize and reason.
Exactly. And very important.
Right. And you create emotional intelligence when you show that you don't throw a temper tantrum, because really, to me, beating a child is a temper tantrum yourself. So you're saying, calm down while I throw a temper tantrum, as opposed to
it's the opposite reaction.
So you're saying you're trying to say I'm an adult, but then you're acting more like a child than the child, right? You can't control your emotions.
Yeah.
So I always say, control your emotions, step away from the situation, and come back with rationality. And then with my own children, I've got 3.
Yeah.
And what I told them was, listen, my motivation is to keep you alive, right? I'm not smarter than you. I'm not stronger than you.
You tell your kids that.
I tell them this. I'm very honest with them. I make mistakes, right?
Wow.
But my job is to keep you alive. That's all I want to do, right? I want to make sure you don't walk out in the street. You don't
keep you alive and make sure you survive.
I've been here longer than you, so I know the rules of this place, right? So how about we respect each other? If I say don't jump in the street, don't jump on this couch, it's because in this situation, this is what is required of you, and you'll learn. So I'll go to places, they say, your children are so very well behaved, how do you do that? I say, they chose to be. Because they follow my lead.
Yeah.
Because I'm honest with them, and I apologize to them when I make mistakes.
You are their role model.
Right. And so I want to show them that I'm growing. They've seen me go from beating them. I even tried with my oldest. I have a 13-year-old. So my style has changed. He's autistic. But before he was diagnosed, I thought he was just a troublemaker, right? So I would always be so embarrassed in public spaces. I was a young mom. I was 21. So I always wanted him to be like the other children. And so I would punish him for things that just came to him naturally, moving. And so as I grew, I would apologize for some of the things I did in the past, and I say, I accept you now. I see you now. And so those kinds of dialogues show the child that they're valid, that you see them, that you appreciate them.
Yeah, you appreciate them. That's all they want, to feel loved.
Exactly. So I think if we can work on ourselves and recognize that we are coming from a lot of times a very painful place, an imperfect place, and we heal ourselves and we're honest with our children that we don't know everything, then they engage with you and they respect you, and they even behave better
because then they can relate
and they can trust you.
Yes. I'm very conscious about sexual abuse.
Yes.
Because personally, I feel that anyone who abuses a child should be tortured before you are murdered.
I feel like most people feel
it's my personal opinion. I'm entitled to it because you have no idea what you do to that child.
Yes. And it's long. It lasts.
It's a long time effect.
Yes.
There was a story I read on social media where there were doctors. There are two doctors, and they were married, and they had kids. And doctors, they're busy and all of that. So they left their kids were practically raised by their nanny, and then I think one brother or something. I don't know whether the woman's brother or whatever, but they were hardly at home. So this anytime they come, the kids are either sleeping or whatever. Then there was one time that the son walked to her, the mom. I think it was a weekend or something. So the son walked to the mom and was like, "Mom, why is it that anytime you and daddy enters the room, you lock it? Are you kissing daddy? Why don't you kiss me?" So she felt like, hey, where's this coming from? What are you talking about? So she thought that the child was learning that from school. And so she kind of like changed the school. And that was it. Then one time she decided to come home early to pick something. When she got home, she realized that her brother-in-law, I think that's her brother-in-law, her nanny, and the 2 kids, I think she had a son and a daughter, were watching porn.
Wow.
And they were practicing what they were watching.
Wow.
She was broken, like seriously broken. And the harm had been done already.
Yes.
because the kids were practicing. So she was the son was practicing with the sister, or the kids were practicing, and that's what they started doing.
Yes.
To the extent that they even started aborting for their daughter because she was getting pregnant for the brother.
Wow.
Yeah, it's that
Wow.
bad.
Wow. That's heartbreaking.
Yeah. And that is, they didn't abuse them sexually, but they exposed them.
Yes. To the...
That is also sexual abuse.
Definitely.
Because right now you've aroused the child's sexual desire so early.
Too early. Yes.
So I really want us to delve about sexual abuse.
Yes. Yes.
And how it traumatizes us.
Yeah. It's such a deep topic, right? Because it's twofold. Not only is it damaging to the confidence of the child, right? Socially, it's taboo. So the child can't even come and get help without feeling shame.
Yeah.
So you have two different levels of abuse. You have the actual event, and then you have social abuse, right? So where the child feels dirty or these are, when I talk about scripts, right? Unworthy, secretive, shameful.
Yeah.
And so oftentimes even when parents find out, they punish the child by rejecting it.
That's the thing.
Yeah. So
I don't know why they do that.
Shame, right? So much of the problems that we have as a society is cultivated by shame, when really we should be expanding our reception of people and you know, the shades that come with people.
Be more accommodating
and understanding. So even because a lot of times even abusers were themselves abused, right?
Yes.
So oftentimes, even though it's very tempting to say, you know, chop, kill, burn, destroy, this person was also traumatized. So coming from a humanistic place where you're saying heal, even though it's tough, accept, see. It's all about being seen. We act out. We're almost like large children. We're acting out.
Yeah.
Because nobody gives us the attention that we crave.
Yeah.
There was a study done. This is sort of to prove the scene point. They did a scientific study with plants, 3 plants. They had one that they spoke negatively to. You're ugly. You're stupid. I hate you. Right? A plant. You know. They had one that they completely ignored. No energy. They just gave it water. They didn't look at it. They didn't touch it. And then they had, you're beautiful. Right? The 2 plants that got the negative attention and the positive attention, they still flourished.
Okay.
The one that was completely ignored died.
So
a lot of times,
and that's plants.
So you can imagine with humans.
Yeah, with human. Yeah.
So of course the one that got the loving, it was more lush. But the one that got the negative, it still grew. So a lot of times children will act out even to get a negative reaction because it's something.
Yeah.
Right? And so adults will do the same thing. They'll do things. So even if they're ostracized by society, I hate you, you know, they still are getting energy to thrive, as opposed to being completely ignored. Right? Because with like emotional neglect, that child is completely ignored. So they turn inward and they begin to decay inside. The child who acts up and gets beaten is almost even better off. Yeah. Right? Because they're still having interaction.
Yeah. Some kind of attention.
So just a culture of seeing, accepting, healing, and understanding that we are a full spectrum. Every person is a full spectrum, good and bad. And we have to find the middle ground that only comes from acceptance. Yeah. Wow. So sexual abuse is a heavy burden, but it can be healed with acceptance, without making it taboo, and with systematic understanding, and allowing people to change. So you don't have to stay the same person, right? Allowing for people to change, both the abuser and the abused, is true healing.
So at some point, what you're saying is that it becomes an individual decision. You need to understand that whatever you went through is definitely affecting you.
Yes.
Whether you know it or not. So you have to accept it and then heal.
But don't let it define you. Right?
Don't let it define you.
That's the major thing, is understanding that it's a part of your journey, but it isn't the whole thing.
Now, in the case where we have kids that have been, their parents define them by telling them, I want you to be a doctor. You probably don't want to be. Right. You are supposed to be this. Yeah. You are this, you are that, you are that. You've been called names, whatever and all that. Yeah. You are lost because you growing up, you have have been more or less like in the shadows of your parents,
Right.
and you don't know who you are.
Yes.
How would you define yourself? How will such a child grow up to be an adult to find who they are?
Yeah, it takes this wanting to fit your child into society. It comes from a lack mindset, a scarcity mindset. You think if this person is allowed to be who they truly are, that's off the norm, they won't make it. So a parent tries to force a child to be something that they're not, out of fear. They want this child to be abundant. They want them to be successful.
Yeah.
So the only thing that society tells you can be successful is a ball player in the U.S. where I'm from, a doctor, or a celebrity, an engineer, a scientist. We don't value art, right? We don't value music unless you're Beyonce, right? Or you sing a certain kind of music. And so,
or even probably dancers or choreographers.
The creative arts, that's energy, that's healing, that's sound is healing, right?
Yeah.
So knowing that as you grow, when you become an adult, knowing that this was instilled in you from a place of fear and not from creativity and abundance and love, gives you the license to recreate yourself. Because you're like, you know what? No, I choose as an adult to come from a place of abundance and creativity and love, no matter what society says. And then my mother, fortunately, I was given a mother that allowed me to understand that money follows your passion.
Money follows your passion.
If you are a doctor, but you hate blood, but you really want to go and paint walls, then you won't be healing people, right? You'll be running on a script, you'll be miserable, and you won't actually allow,
like so many people out there.
And there's a software developer that actually would be an incredible doctor because they have a healing, nurturing, right? So creating a society that allows for people to bring their genius and make money off of that genius, value that genius monetarily, will allow us. And that takes adults like you and I to say, okay, I was trained as this, but that's not resonating. I have creativity in another place. Let me develop it. Let me make money and be abundant. And then other people see you and they give themselves a chance to be new. Choosing to live a life that's free and self-defined gives other people a chance.
Say it again.
Choosing a life that's self-defined and free and unapologetic allows other people to see you doing that, and then they follow your lead.
Trust me, I think for the initial stages, they'll be like, who do you think you are? Like,
you're breaking the rules.
You're so full of yourself and all that. But with time, when they start seeing that, oh, you're actually living your life to the fullest, being yourself, they will definitely admire you.
I can only say this because I've lived it. I have done a lot of unconventional things, and I've gotten a lot of criticism. But then as they see me grow in confidence behind what I'm doing and seeing how it benefits them, right? When your bold choices benefit the collective, then the collective starts saying, what did she do, And so that's my goal, is to create systems and a life that shows other people that they can create systems and new things.
Yes. I like that. I mean, even the fact that you said that you have 3 kids, looking at the way I have to even come and see you and find, hey,
thank you.
What did you do?
I've decided to stay 15 in the mind and 80 in the heart.
That's it.
I will be 15 for the rest of my life.
Right, in the mind, you'll be 15.
And 80.
And it will definitely affect your body, because everything, that's a balance. So what you put in your mind, the kind of thoughts, will definitely align itself, and it will definitely transcend into the physical.
Definitely. The mind controls everything about your reality completely. What you tell yourself on a daily basis affects you, which is why the work of clearing how you speak to yourself on a subconscious level is so important. It affects your health, your money, your love, everything.
That's why affirmations and what we say to our children, very, very important.
Powerful.
Very, very important. Viewers, I know it's getting interesting, but we have to take a quick break. So please stay tuned. I'll be right back. Life is a journey, and we are travelers. It's a beautiful journey we all find ourselves on. And like all other travelers, you make bumpy, curved, straight, and even crossroads, and you have to take a decision. The hustles, choices, pain, and experiences are all tools to our growth. Remember, Remember, traveler, that you are here but for a while. And so you need that inner peace. Guard it. Welcome back, viewers, and delving more on the topic child abuse and child trauma. Now, Zuri, I really want to know, how can a parent discipline their child while still protecting them? Because we need to be able to prepare our children to be able to fit in society, survive in this world.
Yes.
And sometimes we need to discipline them.
Definitely.
How do we show them that, I'm still protecting you, even though I am trying to discipline you and you probably feel like I'm the bad person right now?
Yes. I believe dialogue, right? A lot of times we don't talk to our children. We expect them, first of all, to be mind readers, to know what we're thinking and feeling and adjust around it. It creates a child that watches you to survive, right? As opposed to being their original self. They're taking their cues from you. Am I safe?
Yeah.
Will I get beaten if I do this thing?
Yeah.
It creates a very careful and cautious child as opposed to someone that's free, right? So first of all, allowing yourself to be very clear about what you require of that child so that they are not guessing if they're breaking your rules and surprised when you hurt them, right?
Yeah.
But then also being creative as a parent. If you're going to be a parent, you have to be willing to
do the work,
right?
Yes.
Hitting is very lazy. It doesn't teach the child anything but that it's okay to not be able to control your emotions once you're at a certain age, right? And then it doesn't grow their minds.
Yeah.
So for me, I think discipline should be less about control and more about education. So if you come from an honest place and you teach your child why what they're doing is dangerous, then they can make their own choices, right? So I always advocate for less discipline and more clear boundaries, and then intelligent repercussions.
Okay. Can you delve more on that?
Yeah. So instead of physical pain being a deterrent, there should be thought behind it, right? So if you love this thing, right? I mean, of course, outside of passions, you don't want to say to a dancing child, you can't dance for a month. That's horrible,
of course. Right? That's cruel.
But screen time, they love to watch TV.
Yeah.
They love to eat cake. So and so cake is a luxury,
Yeah.
So
it is a luxury.
It's a luxury. So there are plenty of luxuries that we give our children. To have juice instead of water.
Yeah. Buy you toys.
Right. Or I personally, so I was raised in the old school, right? Not for long. My mom shifted when I was quite young. She stopped hitting me when I was quite young.
She used to beat you?
Yeah, it was very funny.
Mom is an African mother.
Yes, hey, African Americans and Africans, we're genetically, the same. But so there was actually a moment, I'll never forget this. I was 5. And my mom had a system, which I appreciate. I was in church and I was acting up. And she looked at me and she wouldn't say anything.
There's a look.
She would hold up one finger. One finger meant 5 licks. So I learned multiplication early. Early. She'd say, right? And I said, 20. Okay, let me start by
just stop right there.
And so I'll never forget. One night she started to hit me with the belt.
With a belt.
And so it was painful. But it was this strange moment. After like 5, we kind of looked at each other and we started to laugh.
Why?
Because we knew that I was still gonna act up, right? I was too smart. I was too hard-headed. This wasn't working.
It won't work.
Yeah. So she said, you know what? Pull up your pants. Tomorrow, we're gonna go through your toys. I will take some for you. Know what I mean? So I saw that. I'll never forget. Yeah. I saw her choose to do differently than what her parents did, because she
you were getting used to the spanks,
and I was kind of like, okay, I would act up because I can take 20, but I can't do 25. So I'll act up till 3, okay, and I'll slow down. So when you have a child that this isn't,
trust me, they're smart,
they're intelligent, and so you have to just say, listen, I love you, and my job is to keep you safe. Let me level up. Let me treat you with respect. Let me actually be an adult and control what I'm supposed to control, which is the extras. You know what I mean? So you can have a child who's acting up and you say, hey, okay, this is a choice. You are choosing because you're not supposed to do this. Yeah. So you're choosing to lose this thing that you love. Yeah. And then they respect you for understanding the full scope of what they like, right? Yeah. To take it away. They even see that you've seen them enough to know that, right? As opposed to just hitting them.
I know.
So if you're going to be a parent, understand that it takes seeing the child, being creative with that child. With my oldest, he doesn't care if you take away food. He doesn't care if you take away toys. But if you take his money,
they get used to it.
If you take his money,
That one, dear.
So I know with that one, I take his money.
So that's what you use.
So I would say, okay. I hope you enjoyed getting me upset. Now I'm gonna go buy myself a latte, and I'm gonna refresh myself with your money. Oh, the next time he didn't do it, right? And then just being creative, like with the oldest, he was getting big, and even the money wasn't working, so I had to keep shifting.
Yeah.
So then I started having him do wall sits until his legs shake. So for the pain, if you want pain,
that punishment. I think I've done it before.
You've had it, right?
Seriously,
so these creative ways, as opposed to actually inflicting physical to where you are harming your child, come up with creative, ever shifting ways for them to get the point.
And I think it would, like you said, it would take for you as a parent to also know your child. Because if you know, like you said about your son, you know that taking away his money will definitely get him to sit up.
Fast.
So exactly.
So it just spend time with them.
Spend time with them. They need us.
Yes.
They need us
so much.
I want to know, if being a parent, if would you say that you can be vulnerable in front of your kids, and will it affect them? Would it because most parents feel that, oh, my child should never see me cry. My child should never know that I'm having issues, financial issues and whatever. I get that and all that, but what I want to find out is that being vulnerable in front of your kids, does it affect the children in a negative or in a positive way?
So we walk a fine line as adults, right? We don't want to put the burden of adulthood on child, right? So so I understand the urge to want to hide away the flaws. Because you don't, so I think it takes being a balanced adult, right? Okay. Because if you are too codependent on your child to where your child is supporting you through your trials as an adult, then that is also abusive, right? But it also, if you pull completely back and you don't show the full range of who you are, then they don't see you're not having an authentic interaction. So I think it takes being an emotionally intelligent adult to where if you have something traumatic happen to you as an adult, you can say, listen, I'm having a difficult time as an adult. It's not for you to fix, but you have to understand that I'm going through the process of fixing it. I'll still take care of you. You're safe, but being an adult is also hard, so that they're even not blindsided when they become an adult, thinking, oh, it's so easy to be an adult. It's perfect. It's my parents, rosy, and when they close the door, the parents are freaking out. You have to show the full range of being an adult, but then also let them know that it's not their job, right? That you will keep them safe. But this is me being authentic as I create a life for us, just being, and then that takes some checking yourself to say, just because I'm the adult, I don't have to be perfect either. So relieving yourself of that burden, that pressure, is also a kindness to yourself, of having to be the perfect polished adult, and then the children who are perfect and polished. All of this has to be diffused for authentic living in the future. Right?
I like the word authenticity.
Authenticity.
We just have to be real.
That's it. And healthy, and that requires accepting all of life, and your children need to see that, so that when they're adults, they're actually safe. Right? It's very unsafe for them to go into adulthood thinking that they don't have to expect or accept the full range of emotions. Crying. A child should always have seen their father cry at some point, right? And so we have to create a society that allows it to be cool for a father to cry. So.
As adults, how do we know that child abuse or things that our kids are going through is going to traumatize them? Do we even know?
Yeah, that's a tough one, right? Because every child is different. So a lot of times their coping mechanisms are different from child to child. So what affects one child one way might affect another child a different way. So one child may be overly, really heavily impacted by physical abuse, right? Whereas one child seems to take it in stride and they brush it under the rug. So it's literally a one-on-one, paying attention to your children. We keep coming back to this, right? But seeing your child, and there's a scientific thing behind that, truly seeing and then noticing how their behavior changes. So if you send your child to daycare and they come back, subdued or quiet, then these are alarms, right? So just seeing your child, knowing your child as a baseline, and then paying attention to the changes based off of how you interact with them. Oh, I shouldn't have said that. Wow, that she got quiet, and adjusting And then also as you send them out into the world, seeing how, the changes in that child. So I think if we become more sensitive and we become less externally focused on money.
Externally focused, that's the thing.
Yeah. It's about being able, because we have to survive. I get that. But it's about being able to turn that off and really dial into your child to know what is traumatizing for that child. Because what's traumatizing for that child might not even be the same as a sibling. So I think conscientiousness, awareness, closeness is what lets us know what's traumatizing our children.
I know what I'm going to say right now might sound some way, but I don't know if you side with me or what. I want to know your thoughts on that. But I believe that if you're not ready to be a parent, please don't have kids.
Boy.
Because most of the problems that we have in this world, social vices, whatever it is, I believe is from parenting.
I have to say I would agree. I mean, of course, that's taboo, right, to say. I mean, but I'm a bit of an optimist or a dreamer. So I'm always thinking about how we can optimize society. Like, what would be the ideal society, right? And for me, it would be counseling as teenagers at the end of high school, in college, the reality of parenthood, right? And then also making sure that the emotional well-being of college students is handled, so that, because that affects the partners they choose, the places they go, when they have children, the careers they choose, right? So having systems where we address the neglect of people of childbearing age, so that if they, have an unexpected pregnancy, they're prepared emotionally for that, is how you heal poor parenting, right? And so moving forward, we have to pay attention to what we're doing now, and then create the systems that allow for better parenting in the future.
Exactly, better parenting. Because you the reason why I was saying that is, people I don't know whether I'm going to say societal pressure or whatever, but people are giving birth and they don't have time to raise their kids. They don't even know what their children eat, what time they go to bed. And it's affecting the child. It's all part of the trauma, because you realize that this child is, I come from a divorced home. My parents divorced right before I was 2 years. And I know how that affected me. Certain decisions that I took at a certain age, I had to rely on friends to take advice, because I don't even want to go into that story, but my parents were divorced. I grew up with my grandparents. And I had the divorce. In my case, they were not also talking to each other. So in this case, you go to your mom says something. You go to your dad says something. I know how it affected me, trust me. And so that is why I'm saying that if you are not ready to be a parent, because it takes a lot of work, a lot of sacrifices, you're going to mess up this child's life, and this child is going to come to society and be a liability.
It's about money. It's about figures at the end of the day. Governments, hey, let's have parenting classes so that we don't cost you so much money.
No, I think it will work.
Yeah, I think so too. It's about channeling the money away from all this biggest buildings, biggest billions. Let's have the biggest hearts. Which country can have the people with the biggest hearts? Hey, a new level. The main thing we have to do is change what we deem as prosperity. What's true wealth?
That's the thing.
True wealth is well-being.
That's the thing.
Peace. You can have all the money.
What we see as being a billionaire, trillionaire, oh, you're successful and all that. I mean, who's setting those standards?
Right.
That we feel so pressured in life to fall to those standards.
That's very true. And I grew up around, I myself wasn't wealthy, but I grew up in academia in the U.S. So my mother spent most of my life in school getting college education. So these are quite wealthy people. And I remember as a child realizing that they weren't truly wealthy. They were still miserable, even though they had the nicest clothes and the nicest cars. They were still disconnected from each other. And so I think I learned from a very young age that that wasn't true wealth at all, right?
Yeah.
And so I've been looking in other directions for what wealth is. And that's part of the reason I love Ghana, because you are truly wealthy here. You know?
Oh, yeah, we are.
Very truly
but we
wealthy.
don't even know it.
Yes. And so that my goal is to help you learn it.
Or we know it, but we probably don't know how to
it.
tap into
Realize
it.
That's
the thing.
Value it. To have a place where you can get kube on every corner. Hey.
I know, right?
You know, they once a 5 city fufu. You know what I mean? you're connected
Five
to the
cities
earth.
fufu.
And
You love fufu, eh?
I like fufu a lot. Hey, I'm obsessed. But Ghanaians are extremely wealthy. You're connected to the land. You're connected to each other, right?
And we have everything.
You have everything. So the minute you realize that that's the wealth and not the external world, what's been is shown in movies and even about the U.S., right? It takes people like me to come here and be like, no, we don't have anything figured out there. It looks shiny on the surface, but it's very disjointed and disconnected. To value your own wealth here of the land and each other, the strength you have is powerful, and that's what changes the whole world.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I think there's something we need to tweet or hashtag on. Now tell me about your project. I know you and your mom, you're doing this project that kind of like help with childhood trauma and child abuse and all that. Let's talk about your project.
Absolutely. The scientific term is called integrative reminiscence.
Integrative
reminiscence. And basically it's the process of looking back into your childhood trauma as an adult, from an adult perspective.
Okay.
Changing the script that you had written about yourself as a child. So you go from ugly, lazy, stupid to, oh, I was actually beautiful, strong, resilient, intelligent. That shift in your own subconscious script changes everything about your life. It changes the partners that you choose. It changes the careers that you look for. It changes your definition of wealth. It changes your personal power, right? You no longer feel like you have to adjust who you are.
Or fit in society,
right. or succumb to shame.
Whoa.
The main thing it does is it changes how you feel about your trauma. It goes from something that's ugly and dark and hidden to something that you truly understand, you see, you forgive, and it becomes almost even something you're proud of because it shaped you into the person that you become.
Wow.
So shame is what debilitates you. Pride, acceptance, self-acceptance, self-actualization is the scientific term, is what empowers you to move mountains in your adult life.
Yes.
You just reach a whole nother threshold of self-love. And so the project is guided journaling. So it's been, so my mother's a research psychologist. For the past 30 years, she has been cultivating a technique called life writing.
Life writing.
Okay. And it's a series of guided journaling, about 8 weeks. We start from your earliest connections, and we give you specific prompts to help you enter into the emotions of the trauma
that you experienced during childhood.
So you write from the first person perspective, the event. You feel the emotions, you accept it as an adult, and then you are able to put it away from you. That process works across socioeconomic status, across age, gender, race, because the minute that you accept yourself and the trauma as a child and you put it outside of yourself, it clears the way for something we like to call high play, right? Life becomes playful again because you're no longer burdened.
Yeah.
So it's
you let loose of that negative energy.
So easy, and it becomes so easy. You become so light and buoyant, and
you be lightweight.
It's powerful. So life writing is it's 8 sessions of your childhood home. You talk about your an impactful experience with your mother, your father, a significant event like rape or abuse, and we just systematically destigmatize your past.
So what you do is like you keep like you journal it.
There are 3 different ways actually.
Okay.
There's a booklet that you can order where you guides you through the process by yourself.
Yeah.
But the preferred way is actually to do it in a workshop. You can either do it virtually but via Zoom or in person, and you basically privately journal. So you're not having to with a therapist. You can want to kind of sugarcoat things and hide a little bit. When it's just you and your pages, you have to be you're able to be very honest with yourself.
You have to be honest.
You have to be,
because you need to heal.
You can, and you don't have to prove. You just have to prove yourself to yourself, right? So you write it. So there are three types. The personal booklet in person is actually better because we support each other privately writing.
Okay.
But then you support each other. We are able to see each other go through the process. So you don't know that person's specific journey, but you see and you validate their process of self-actualization.
Okay.
And that
so
is
you
more
coach,
powerful.
you coach the person.
Right. In a group, someone like me who's a life writing facilitator, I've actually certified in my mother's technique now.
Oh, okay.
So I'm bringing it to Ghana.
Please do.
Absolutely. So my job is to make sure that you are being honest with yourself, to make sure that you are actually re-entering those emotions, you are rewriting your script. And then having a group of peers who are doing it as well gives you that being seen, right? We're all craving to be seen.
Yeah.
And so we see each other in our journey to becoming people who are playful now.
Yeah. And better people.
Self-validated. And that is what a workshop does. And the last one is we have the entire booklet recorded for you to listen to, audio,
like a podcast,
and that's on our podcast, and that's on our website. The light, and that's I'll say it at the end, I suppose.
Yeah, I think so. You'll have to leave that website.
Absolutely.
But I'm so happy with this project because we as adults, like I said earlier, we go through lots of things during childhood that scars us, traumatizes us, and we don't even know why we act certain ways as adults.
Yes.
But it's because we can, if we want to be honest with ourselves, we'll trace it to our childhood. So that's a very good project that we need in Ghana. And I'm going to look for my friends. I'm going to tell my friends so that we come and do it.
I'm so excited.
I want to do it because I'm sure I went through some things during childhood. I won't tell you, but I need to heal.
And the thing is, no one has a perfect childhood. You could even have the most, on paper, you could have the most beautiful childhood, but there's something that needs to be worked out. So we could all benefit.
Our parents are not perfect.
They can't be, because their parents weren't perfect.
That's the thing. But someone has to break the cycle.
That's our job.
Someone has to break the cycle.
Our job.
I'm so happy that we spoke today. I mean, it's been very, very insightful. And I know our viewers have definitely learned a lot. Thank you so much, Zuri, for coming.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
And please, your projects.
Yes.
Sign me on.
Oh, 100%.
What does it take for someone to sign on?
You can go to www.thelifewritingproject.com.
Okay.
You can sign our subscription list, and we reach out to you in email. You can sign up for the virtual online workshops. And then I will be bringing to Ghana the opportunity to set up private workshops with family members.
Okay.
So if you have a group of 5 or 6 people, the same gender, so all men, all women, could be family,
you prefer
friends.
the same gender?
Similar identities helps you feel safe.
Okay.
Right?
All right.
So we know that as a woman, we've all kind of faced some similar things. As men, we've all faced. And so you have people you trust and you can really relax around and heal around. We'll be offering chances to do the workshop with that group of people.
Okay.
So the 8 is the cutoff.
All right.
I'll be bringing that to Ghana this year.
Please. You should start very soon.
Absolutely. And you can always find me on Instagram.
Okay. What's your Instagram
My
handle?
My Instagram is @thinkyouthink. That's THINK, lowercase u, THINK. Think you think. And reach out to me there for more information.
Please reach out to her. Thank you so much. You're such an amazing person.
So are you.
And I've enjoyed myself.
Yes. Yes.
Viewers, I'm glad you stayed on to the end. I wish that we would do our best to protect our young ones. I mean, our children, they need us. We don't need to hurt them. We need to love them. I'm Rena, and thank you so much for watching. Keep watching Health in the Spotlight. There's more to come.